Day number 14 is in the books, and it was not really a groundbreaking day, but it was certainly a block evening day, and quite a saving grace for several people in the B block. Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good night. Konnichiwa to you all. My name is Noah Foster. Just come on from church. Now I'm just a simple man, and welcome once again to another simple review preview of G1Climax30, as we are literally entering the final week of the G1. And what an incredible G1 has been. But yet, 1 week from today, as I come to you Sunday afternoon, 1:12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, October 11th, we will finally crown the one. But let's go ahead and look at today's show and the show coming up and see what lies ahead and who is potentially to win it and who is out. So, of course, today emanated, of course, with B block action from the Ashi Prefectural Gymnasium, and the story started off in the C block Young Lions Cup, where, well, Young Lions G1 round. You get the idea. Where we had Yota Tsuji take on Gabriel Kidd. Both of the men, they basically traded blows. There was an exchange of submission holds. And in a short, under 8-minute bout, Gabriel Kidd, he made it even across the board among the three with 4 wins apiece, as he was able to pull off that double arm suplex and gets the win. It's truly interesting how even all 3 of these men are. But again, I find it being about LA Dojo versus NJPW Dojo. And I feel like in the end, Gabriel Kidd, he might surprise us. But honestly, my winner right now is Yota Tsuji. Even though they are 4 wins apiece, Yota with 2 draws, the other 2 men have 1 draw apiece. We'll have to wait and see. There are 5 days left to see who takes it all. So it's still anybody's game, which leads us into action for today. B block, day 14. And it was a very pivotal day for a couple of people, especially concerning what could have happened in the main event. So our opening bout was, of course, a usually strong, somewhat technical bout between headhunter Yoshihashi and Zack Sabre Jr. Of course, Yoshihashi already mathematically eliminated from the G1. He was basically in here to prove a point and maybe even pin 1/2 of the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. So Zack Sabre Jr. did subtly tease that title. As the 2 got underway, it instantly became a ground game, and the 2 traded holes while trying to get the better of one another. Tijeras took Zack Sabre Jr., though, completely off his feet, and Zack Sabre Jr. being shorts, hot-headed, he was able to find his way back. But then following that, we got Kumagoroshi countered into an arm wringer, and then that was, of course, targeting the shoulder of Yoshihashi, who, of course, has been really hindered by that. Subtly, you can tell, throughout this whole thing. As the left shoulder was continually being worked on by Zack Sabre Jr., he picked his target, and he was going for all sorts of submission holds. It got stretched beyond belief. You can hear Yoshihashi screaming. Although a Enziguri, out of nowhere, finally stopped the match, and Yoshihashi had a moment of reprieve. And then he was able to follow up with a couple of stiff strikes. But in the end, there was a powerbomb as Zack Sabre Jr. went back to the arm after countering the powerbomb with extreme aggressiveness. I thought he literally was going to bend it backwards. Missile DDT, though, from Zack Sabre Jr. resulted in Yoshihashi finding another opening where he got a sit-out powerbomb and then got into his submission hold. I knew this match was going to be a match of submission holds. You got Yoshihashi's butterfly lock, Zack Sabre Jr., the submission master of many submissions, Far Away From Home, Cluck Cat, Ground Cobra, the list goes on and on. Anyway, as Zack Sabre Jr. finds himself trapped in the butterfly lock, he was able to get to the ropes, even though he was screaming in agony, and we're about the 10-minute mark. As this match continued, we get a follow-up penalty kick, and as Yoshihashi screams his way, as he always does through his matches, there was lariat and double knees, and then he tries to go for his finisher, Karma, but that gets countered into cross-arm triangle, and I called it, Clarky Cat with ref stoppage as Zack Sabre Jr. trapped Yoshihashi's arm literally in between his legs, behind Yoshihashi's back, nowhere to go in the middle of the ring, could not physically tap out. He verbally tapped out because the pain was too excruciating and he couldn't do nothing else. Zack Sabre Jr. wins, and he moves forward with 6 points, or 8 points, excuse me, while Yoshihashi remains at 2. While Yoshihashi did not have the strongest score, sometimes it's not about the score, it's about the performances that really defines the competitors in the G1. And based on what he's given us so far this run, I truly see Yoshihashi being involved in this again. When you think about Yoshihashi's 12-year run in New Japan Pro Wrestling, this is honestly his strongest year to date, not just because he attained gold, but really what he's been able to show us through the G1 especially. A couple of my favorite matches from the B Block have been Yoshihashi matches, I'm personally honest with you. And this was a pretty good back and forth to think about too. But again, I was not going against Zack Sabre Jr. in this one. Sorry, Headhunter. As we move on from there, we go into a match that is literally YANO rules. And I wonder if Yano's going to create a match like that for his next KOPW 2020 opponent, whoever that might be. As Toru Yano took on Kenta. And this match was, I don't even know how to call this. Let me see if I can figure out words. Odd. Let's just go with that. So literally, I'm just waiting for these two to do something. Lock up. We already find Toru Yano gets taped, and literally Kenta is the one that drives Toru Yano crazy. Who would have thought that could have happened, right? Mr. Calm, Cool, and Collected, why Mr. Irrationally Thinking, out of nowhere, random trickster is getting rattled by Mr. Fangs. And as Kenta and Yano finally come into contact with each other after both almost being literally double counted out, and literally Kenta refusing to let go of the briefcase while Toru Yano had a chair. And there was some angry verbal jabs, of course, between Toru Yano and Kenta, primarily on Yano's side. Things got in control primarily for Toru Yano after a boot from Kenta gave Kenta one moment of reprieve, but then Kenta was immediately gone to the guardrail, and then he literally uses the disinfectant spray, Yano does, to spray Kenta in the eyes, almost wins via counter, blinding Kenta. My anxiety was going through the roof. But he was able to make his way in. And then, literally following that, Yano gets sent into one of his own corners that he exposed turnbuckle corners, and then we get a DDT. And Kenta then douses Yano in that disinfectant spray and rolls him up for a 2 count. Not enough. And then following that, we get the bottle of spray again, drenched on the ref. Now the ref is Brian. Poor Asami. And literally this gives Kenta time to grab the briefcase and walk Yano all the way up the ramp, literally to the entranceway structure, where we find there is a literal moment where Kenta takes that briefcase, bashes him in the head, and popping out of that briefcase is not so much certificate, but rolls and rows of tape. So it looks like somebody has been looking at some Toru Yano matches. And literally, it was Yano's own devices of destruction that was his downfall. As Kenta taped Toru Yano literally to the structure at the entranceway, all the way up to the count of 14, gave a subtle bye-bye, ran back to the ring, and Kenta won this match via countout. And I was laughing hysterically. And Kenta now moves forward with 6 points. And Toru Yano, he remains at 6 points. So this was weird for 2 reasons. One, I did not think Kenta would literally out Yano. And I never thought I would say that sentence. Thanks, Gina. 2, this basically means at this point, when you have, Naito with 10 points, the best that the 6-point people can do is tie him. So basically anybody with 6 points is kind of mathematically eliminated if Naito officially wins his match. Let alone, it's almost impossible to even tie Naito at this point because he's got 2 more matches left. And also, this is the most frustrating I've ever seen Yano, and I loved it. Kenta, that was absolutely brilliant. I do wonder, though, what the state of that briefcase is and if he's going to get a new briefcase, because good grief, that briefcase has been through a number of heads. I wonder if that little note's like a list of heads he's planning to put the case through, or more so, who he has put the case through. But in the end, Yano got out Yano'd, and I loved it. Brilliant, Kenta. Brilliant. Then we go into, of course, our cleaning and disinfectant break, and things kind of pick up following that, as we had a great strong bout between Cold Skull Sonata and Juice Robinson. And these two, respectively, have had 1 victory over each other in previous G1s. This was a G1 rubber match in this G1 rivalry, you could say. And it was a pretty strong back and forth exchange. And Sonata, of course, found quick footing at first, literally taking Juice Robinson out with the low drop kick, at I think that was actually the one knee that was injured because again, Juice was out for a while with a injury. But of course, Robinson, he kept on the advantage after a Paradise Lock countered into a spine buster and then literally evades Sonata's standing moonsault and delivers a backdrop for a 2 count. Following this, Juice Robinson, he's got the match for under control. He gets the crowd behind him. Sonata, though, he was able to avoid a cannonball. Man, the velocity Juice Robinson puts behind that. And then he immediately was able to meet Sonata, well, boot to face, as Sonata dropped him with a drop kick and a plunge. And now Robinson, basically, he finally falls to the Paradise Lock. And we just wait for Sonata to give him the key to freedom, which he does. And then following that, he basically outsmarts Robinson, but Juice, he then evades another moonsault attempt and hits a full Nelson slam. That moonsault sometimes for Sonata, I feel like, can be his ultimate downfall. It almost was here. And literally, he sets up Sonata again for the second time, hits that cannonball directly. Following that, a ridiculous superplex jackhammer combination gives Juice Robinson a nice near fall, and we're about 10 minutes in. Then we get a massive power bomb into another near fall, but not enough. Sonata was able to duck Juice Robinson's left hand of God as he was setting up for that after the little jabs, and finally locks in the skull end. But then counter for counter for counter, he tries to lock in skull end like 3 or 4 times, is unable to. Each man trying to lock in their signature moves. Juice, of course, going for pulp friction, wasn't able to, and he gets an inside cradle instead for a 2 count before Sonata uses an O'Connor roll, which almost has given him the win here as it did previously. Wasn't enough. As this match continued, we finally got the cold skull in. He spins him out, and Juice Robinson, he doesn't tap, but he does weaken him enough for a vulnerable state where he sets him up for, of course, the same way he beat Zack Sabre Jr., the moonsault, and gets the 3 count. This was a really good, respectable back and forth match. I felt like the difference maker here was the fact that Juice did not hit the left hand of God and couldn't follow up with the pulp friction combination. It surprised me that he didn't hit Juice Box in this match at all either. Sonata, of course, being much more calm, cool, and collected, by Juice Robinson's much more spontaneous, especially trying to draw the crowd into his matches. Both men bringing a different style and a different element that the audience both respects. In the end, Sonata continues his momentum, and similar to a J-White run last year, he is 4-0. And he moves up to 8 points, while Juice Robinson stays at 6. You gotta imagine his chances of winning the G1 are pretty much over. Really good match, though. And again, Juice Robinson, it was a nice follow-up to his match against Tetsuya Naito, where again, he opened up a ton of eyes. And as he just keeps running through the IJ guys, I thought it was a really good match. Moving on from there, we go into a match garnered with a ton of history. As previous G1 encounters, 4 of them I might add, the ace has had this man's number, Hiroki Goto, along with a multitude of other singles encounters. But we're only going to look at the G1 here. It was the ace of New Japan, Hiroshi Tanahashi, taking on Hiroki Goto. And these two, they just went right after each other, as I would not expect anything less, even with the hindered shoulder of Goto, which I thought would be his downfall. As we start early with a knee breaker, and then he basically goes after Goto's left knee, of course, with those dragon screws. Ouch! That's always a different maker. Goto, he was able to fight back. He gets the Ushigoroshi out and literally drops the aces weight down across the injured knee, which is not very wise. So now he's got 2 vulnerable targets on his body. Smooth move, Goto. As both men were basically damaged at this point, they were able to get up to their feet, and literally they were just laying into each other, forearm shivers, swinging elbows, open hand, palm strike attempts, but Goto gets the upper hand with a lariat takedown, or knockdown, whatever you want to call it. I guess lariat would actually be more of a knockdown, because you literally knocked the person off his feet, which he did. As Goto tries to finish Tanahashi with the Soten, it was countered into twist and shout, and then another lariat where it been the 10-minute mark. And then we get, let's see here, looks like Sling Blade, he rocks Goto again, and the same open hand that one time broke Goto's jaw. He literally goes to the top rope for a super Ushigoroshi and basically continues to damage Tanahashi's neck. Tanahashi's neck was the target here on the ace, and as far as Goto, it was the knee and the shoulder. Go figure. As this continued, we get a mid-kick into a reverse GDR. With Tanahashi, of course, he was able to basically try and follow up with a counter. Unable to do it, Goto sets him up again for the GTR, and the second GTR, ladies and gentlemen, this is a shocker to me. Goto beats the ace for the first time ever in the G1. I did not see that coming. I mean, I've been wrong in other matches before too, going against history, but I really thought that the Ace was going to win this. I really did. But overall, really good match, very competitive. And Goldo, G stands for Goldo. He's still alive in this thing. He stops the Ace momentum altogether. Goldo goes to 8. The Ace stays at 6. I gotta imagine the Ace's chances are slim to none now. And I must say, I was very surprised with that result. But I have to wonder again the extent of Goldo's injuries. How will his shoulder and his knee hold up now at this point? And as far as the Ace goes, I hope he gets some ice on that neck. You still have 2 more matches, though. Still, very good match. This was probably, when I look at this odd match card, this was probably maybe my second most favorite match of the night. And then we go into the main event, which leaves me sad because it is, of course, renewed rivalry again, as we have Tetsuya Naito, block leader at this point, with 10 points, taking on Evil, who is already going into this with 8 points as well. And the way I saw this match was one of 2 ways. If Tetsuya Naito won this match, then pretty much he wins the block. Because when you think about it, sure, there's a couple of people that could possibly tie him, but he owns a tiebreaker over everybody except for Sonata, meaning that the only final I could see is Sonata versus Tetsuya Naito. However, if Evil won this, then this gives a chance for anybody with 8 points to potentially win this as well, based on what tiebreaker they choose to do. Because again, you look at not just Naito, you look at maybe who's beaten Evil, because Evil has dropped a couple of losses too. But with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about this match and talk about what our B block looks like as we head into the pre-New Ultimate, how they say it, week of the G1. The final week of the G1, folks. Basically, it was everything you would expect. We had all the typical spots. Tetsuya Naito with the early control, and it wasn't until Dick Togo got involved. Dick, of course he got involved here. He played spoiler, of course, a multitude of times here with rep distractions as Evil was able to get out the chairs. He wasn't able at first to do the suplex to the chairs, but he did do a drop Toho first to Naito into the chairs. Then following that, he was able to swing for the fences, take out Naito's neck, and constantly works on that as we go back into the ring. And basically following that, we get, of course, our exposed turnbuckle corner, and then literally we get a back into the ring. We get neckbreaker, chin lock to wear down Naito. As this match continues, though, Naito is able to fight back with Puma Blanca, and then basically he was able to reverse a hold on Evil until Togo once again comes into play, and literally Evil is able to make it to the ropes. We get the swinging DDT, Fisherman Buster by Evil. Both men are on the mat right now for the 15-minute mark. This was actually the longest match of the night. Did not go quite 25 minutes. Not necessarily the best match of Naito's run. And Evil, I'm indifferent to Evil and Bullet Club at this point because I know what happens here. As this match continues, he goes for the Darkness Scorpion. Naito refuses to tap out, using all the rest of 5 count in the ropes. So they got a rope break. And Naito then pulls off rolling kick. Gloria for a 2 count. Evil, though, was able to stop a neckbreaker, landing a senton, squash his rival. As this match continues, we go back into the exposed turnbuckle again to put the match into favor. And then a half and half suplex before Darkness falls, countered, thankfully, by a Destino. I thought Naito won, quite. As he didn't get the full Destino. It was kind of like a counter Destino, basically. 20-minute mark. And then basically he goes for another one. It gets a 2 count. Then we basically try to set up for the final Destino, but Dick Togo once again comes into play, literally applying that choker device on Naito. But Naito was able to escape it, driving back elbows into Evil and finally taking out Dick Togo. It wasn't enough, though, as Red Shoes Umino, he was still distracted at this point, and Evil connects with the dreaded low blow. But Naito prevents further interference, taking out Dick Togo again. I don't know how he's about that low blow. Goes for the running Destino, hits it, freaking 2 count. And then Evil, who is about to be hit with a full-fledged Destino again for the 3rd time, twice if you think about the true Destinos. He counters it into a perfect version after trying it multiple times before. He finally hits Everything is Evil and wins and goes to 10 points and ties Naito. Damn it. Okay, so here are 2 things I think about this. Now both Tetsuya, Naito, and Evil, they are tied at 10 points. The secondary leaders of the blocks are Hiroki Goto, Sonata, and Zack Sabre Jr. Okay? So Zack Sabre Jr., he owes a victory over Evil, but Naito owes a victory over Zack Sabre Jr. Sonata has to face Evil in his final, and he also owes a victory over Tetsuya Naito. If Sonata beats Evil, then literally Sonata could win this block. If nothing else, he'd be involved in the finale. Tetsuya Naito has only dropped losses now to Evil and Sonata, respectable LIJ members. Well, one former LIJ member. He still has to face Kenta, and he has to face Hiroki Goto. Hiroki Goto and Naito have a ton of history, going way back on multiple occasions, even before Goto was part of Chaos. If Goto beats Naito, it could stop Naito's tracks altogether, and Goto could be a potential candidate to win the G1. But he also has to face Evil. The bottom line, folks, is this. Either Hiroki Goto, Tetsuya Naito, Sonata, Zack Sabre Jr., or Evil, they all have a chance to still win the B block. The other 5 are eliminated at this point. Hiroshi Tanahashi, Juice Robinson, Toru Yano, Yoshihashi, and you got to imagine Kenta. They all have 6 points. The best they could do at this point is 10. And even then, across tiebreakers, I just don't see it working out for them. So there's a lot of factors that need to come into play to give them a chance to maybe win, but you got to imagine they're kind of counted out. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens as we go down the line now with the last 2 days of B-Block action to come. So I can't wait. But I think right now, the number 1 match I'm looking forward to, Sonata versus Evil, because that's my deciding factor with my block winner potentially winning, Sonata, and Evil finally being stopped dead in his tracks. Sonata, please get it done. Anyway, that concludes today's action. Let's go ahead and look forward to the next day's action, day 15 of 19. As, of course, action will resume, I believe, not tomorrow. We get a break. I believe it's Tuesday. Yep. Tuesday, October 13th, 2:30 a.m. Pacific Time, 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 10:30 a.m. British Standard Time. Let's go ahead and take a look at the card. So day 15 is going to go as follows. We're going to continue the Young Lions CG1 run as Uya Yamera and Gabriel Kidd duke it out among each other. Of course, Uya Yamera, he's dropped losses to both Yoda and, of course, Kidd. It is 4-2 right now, though, in Umera's favor. 2-2 on this tour. This is like a rubber match now, right now, in the G1 run for these two. And again, both men are literally tied the exact same way. 4 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw. If I look at this match, I wonder if the double arm suplex can yield Gabriel Kidd back-to-back victories. And it's been much so, I think, a rockier run than Uya Yamera for the others. I really want Uya Yamera to really push forward because I do like the aspect of him one day challenging the King. And also, I thought he had the most promise when he was literally wearing 1 knee pad. You don't see that anymore on him. So it makes me wonder, has he fallen backwards? So with that being said, I'm just going to say that Uya Yamera gets the win here. Now let's go and talk about the real meat of the card, as we got to look at who is going to advance towards winning the A block. Because right now, for a lot of these people, it's do or die. Our first match features Will Ospreay taking on a former rival in Jeff Cobb. Y'all remember back at the G1 Supercard last year where Jeff Cobb beat Will Ospreay and became both the Never Openweight and the Ring of Honor TV champion. And you wonder, as far as that goes, how much has Ospreay grown? Because guess what? That was their only ever other singles encounter. This is the second one now. So again, history is in Cobb's favor. Will Ospreay, though, he is at 10 points while Cobb is at 6. At this point, Cobb is playing spoiler. But Ospreay does have a win over Jay White and a loss to Ibushi. So think about that as well. And Ospreay faces Okada in the finale, no matter what. Some people think that this is going to come down to Ospreay versus Okada in the finale. In order for that to theoretically happen, you got to see if Will Ospreay can overcome the Hawaiian Juggernaut. But he was not able to previously. Then again, that was back at a time where he was considered a junior heavyweight. And during his heavyweight stance, he's been virtually unstoppable, dropping only 2 losses, while Milano praises this man for the wrestler that he is. So with that being said, can this newly reformed Will Ospreay overcome this Hawaii hybrid giant Jeff Cobb? And what's the state of Jeff Cobb's health regarding the war he had with Tomohiro Ishii, which is one of my top matches of this entire G1? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Cobb gets it done. I'm going to say that Jeff Cobb actually gets it done, slows down Ospreay's momentum and sticks him at 10 points. And then we'll see how that affects him going forward into his last match. Because again, this is it, folks. They only have 2 matches. And we're looking at the preview before the last matches right now. This is it. I have to imagine Ospreay versus Okada is Ospreay's destiny because he's never beaten Okada. So with that being said, I think he's going to stay at 10. I think Jeff Cobb's going to stop his momentum heading into his final match. I'm going with the Hawaiian Juggernaut, Jeff Cobb. Moving on from there, we go into another match with another person that has 10 points. As Golden Star, who just overcame the King Incredible match, by the way. Another one of my favorite matches of the G1 so far. Kota Ibushi, who stands at 10 points, he takes on Yujiro Takahashi, who sits at 0. But what's funny is these two have not really met each other a lot in singles action, only one at a time. 7 years ago in the G1, and Yujiro won. So I just put the question to you like this, folks. Is Yujiro going to go through this entire G1 scoreless? Or is Yujiro going to shock us and beat the Golden Star as we head to Hamamatsu? This is weird to think about. And considering we don't know the state of Bullet Club regarding previous actions of Jay White after Jay White and Yujiro's match, I feel like Yujiro could really use the win here, but this is Kota Ibushi and this is not 2013. I have to say right now that Kota Ibushi goes ahead of everybody and goes to 12 points. I think Kota gets it done here. And again, Ibushi has wins over both Okada and Ospreay, but he has a loss to Jay White. So at this point, if Ibushi wins this match, and it comes down to maybe Okada and Ospreay tied with him, Kota would get the tiebreaker. The only one that could affect that is maybe a potential block winner in Jay White. Again, there's a lot of different dynamics here. But with that being said, for right now, I gotta go with Yujiro losing. Sorry, man. With that being said, we go into a match more so about who's just gonna have the stronger performance. As unfortunately, I'm really sad about this, both men are mathematically eliminated. I said again, if you come in here with 6 points, you basically are playing spoiler. So Jeff Cobb, good luck playing spoiler against Ospreay. I hope you get it done. But as far as this match, oh boy, it is Rampage Dragon Shingo Takagi versus Taiji. And these two have only met each other one at a time in last year's G1, where Taiji won. Now we look at the incredible runs of both these men. Shingo Takagi, former never overweight champion. He has yet to take on the King. That will be his final. And of course, Taiji, the Holy Emperor, who has been at this, some would say, a civil war with Minoru Suzuki and Suzuki Gun as far as their direction and leadership goes. It's a very interesting setup here. But I think about this. When I think about Shingo Takagi being probably Wrestler of the Year, I think about how much he's grown and changed, and he probably wants to go through all of Suzuki Gun. But I think about Taiji and his potential to be a main event player and really leading New Japan himself and being one half of the heavyweight tag team champions. With Shingo Takagi being a heavyweight himself, if he beats one half of the heavyweight tag team champions, you got to imagine that would put him in contention to maybe find a partner and challenge for those titles, whoever that might be. I would imagine it would be Sonata. So with that being said, thinking about that potential match against Dangerous Tekkers, I'm going to say that, ooh, this is going to be tough. This is a fight for pride, if nothing else. I'm going to say that Shingo Takagi wins. And we set up maybe, if nothing else, a rivalry to happen within the upcoming World Tag League with maybe Shingo and Sonata and Taiji and Zack Sabre Jr. But yeah, I'm going to say that Shingo Takagi picks up the win here, goes to 8, while Taiji remains at 6. And in case you're wondering, Taiji's very last match in his G1 run is against Golden Star Kota Ibushi. So even if he loses this, he still could play the ultimate spoiler. Just saying. And again, Shingo, he can try and get back in contention to challenge for his never overweight title that he valued so much that the King currently holds possession, because that's his final match too. We'll have to wait and see what happens for both. Moving on from there, speaking of which, the King, Kasaninare, Minoru Suzuki. He takes on the Switchblade Jay White. And currently Minoru Suzuki sits at 6, while Jay White is at 10. Minoru Suzuki basically mathematically eliminated. These two have only met each other one at a time. 2 years ago in the G1, Suzuki won. White, though, has tiebreaker over Okada and Ibushi and a loss to Ospreay. So keep that in mind here, because again, if Okada and Ibushi are tied in the finals with Jay White would get the tiebreaker. If Ospreay, though, gets to the finals and it's Ospreay and Jay White, then Ospreay potentially could take it because he would have the tiebreaker. So there's a lot of things to consider here. But Minoru Suzuki, he's just looking probably to break this man and play spoiler as well in his run. And keep in mind, folks, the last match for Jay White will be against Stone Pit Bull Tomohiro Ishii. Now that's the spoiler right there, I think. But as far as this match goes, this should be interesting. And considering what's recently been going on with Jay White and Gato, you wonder maybe if the tectonic plates are starting to shift in this partnership, like shaky ground. I think about Minoru Suzuki, and I think about the fact he's not going to take any of Gato's nonsense. And also, he is not going to play around with Jay White. He didn't play with him 2 years ago. He's not going to do the same thing. I'm not going against the King here for right now. I feel like right now, they're going to slow down Jay White's momentum with this match. And I think the King is going to stop the Switchblade in his tracks. So I'm going with the King, Minoru Suzuki, picking up the win here and enjoying it. Because I can only imagine what would happen if the King lost here. He probably would still go after Jay White and try and destroy him while Jay White tries to get away. When you think about Jay White versus the King, you can't just simply say, oh, Jay White's got this. He's a master strategist. No, 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 no. When you go against the King, you're lucky to survive. Good luck, Jay White. Which leads us to our main event. Oh, boy. So this is going to be good. I love it when these two fight. Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada takes on my all-time G1 Climax favorite performer and honestly my favorite wrestler in New Japan Pro Wrestling, the Stone Pit Bull, Tomohiro Ishii. Now, Tomohiro Ishii, of course, is mathematically eliminated only at 6 points, but he could play ultimate spoiler because these two have faced each other in 4 other previous singles encounters, 3 of them being previous G1 encounters. Tomohiro Ishii has gotten the best of Okada once. Okada has gotten the better of Ishii twice, but this is not that old Okada. This is a different Okada, as we've seen, who falls on that money clip. And when I think about Tomohiro Ishii, I don't see this man tapping to a Cobra Clutch. The last time I remember this man actually tapping out was when he was trapped in Clarky Cat to Zack Sabre Jr. and lost the British Heavyweight Championship. So with that being said, it goes like this, as it subtly says, Okada must win or have White and Ibushi both lose. Now, according to what I did previously, I have White losing and Ibushi winning. So basically, if Okada doesn't win here, he's out. He's done. It's over for him. Even with the match with Will Ospreay, we could play Ultimate Sport and stop Ospreay's run, or see if Ospreay can finally ascend past him. I think about right now the really mixed run of Okada, but the fact that he was able to cause both Taiji and Shingo Takagi to body stoppage, ref stoppage to his money clip, but has not been able to pull out win with that move since. And then I think about the fact he's put out these flash pins out of nowhere. That might be his saving grace here. But I also think about the fact he did a subtle short arm lariat, tries to go for a discus lariat at one point. He might have to do that against Tomohiro Ishii, and Tomohiro Ishii will bring out the best, I feel like, in Okada. These two are bandmates. They're brothers. They are in chaos. Tomohiro Ishii is a no-nonsense wrestler, okay? And literally, these two back at New Japan Cup 2019, you know how far Tomohiro Ishii will push Okada. This might be the one time we finally see the freaking Rainmaker used. Because these two I can see literally going to the time limit. So with that being said, do I want the Stone Pit Bull to play Ultimate Spoiler and stop Okada basically dead in his tracks from winning this year's G1 after what's been a really rough year for Okada overall? Or do I see Okada maybe finally channeling back that old Rainmaker and overcoming my favorite wrestler, the Stone Pit Bull, Tomohiro Ishii? Oh, jeez. I am a bit torn with this one. I almost want to say that I think it might be a draw. And you know Ishii's going to fight for nothing else but pride. But also pride bring out the best in Okada. I'm going to say that if I want something different to happen or history to happen, because nobody's won the G1 consecutively 2 years in a row, and Kota Ibushi has the chance to do that, I'm going to say that the Stone Pit Bull gets it done. I'm going to say this doesn't go to a draw, but maybe we're in a minute to a draw. Somehow, some way, the Stone Pit Bull stops Okada. I can see him countering out on the money clip, hit him with a headbutt, fall lariat, burger drop, brainbuster, maybe not once, but twice, and gain the win. I'm going with Stone Pit Bull Tomohiro Ishii to stop Okada dead in his tracks. Because as long as this is the new Okada, I just don't see the new Okada right now becoming IWGP Heavyweight Champion again. I really don't. I gotta be honest with you. And honestly, I wonder if he truly does too. There's gotta be something going on in the head of Okada. That's all I have to say about that. And with that being said, that's all for now. So thank you so much for tuning in. We are literally, again, the last week, the final run of G1 Climax 30. And stay tuned this Saturday. I will be with some friends. We're going to look back at this G1, our favorite matches, our low moments, our overall picks to win versus what we fought, and so much more. I can't wait to get together with Mark, maybe Cindy, and maybe Gina too. Stay tuned for more on that too. Anyway, you want to know more about me? Know this. I'm just a simple man and a lifelong fan of ... wrestling. So Twitter, Instagram, PlayStation, and Foster1916. You can follow me on this YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/C, excuse me, /NoFoster210. I gotta get used to that. For all things wrestling. Shots made W Family on Twitter. Everything that I'm about is in the description down below. Support NoDQ, WrestleJoy, Team All Elite, Wrestling Meltdown, The Bullet Cast, Greg Cherry Brand, Jeff Meacham Network, the list goes on and on. And as always, support progressive films at the heart of it. As I like to close, support wrestling house big and small. Let's keep growing. This incredible, diverse, unique, elite, authentic, unscripted, unrestricted wrestling community together. Simple as that. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and tell a friend. Hit the bell notification if you go live on this channel. Hit the subscribe button. Help me keep growing this channel. Shout out to 168 of you that's been witnessing this fun YouTuber's creation journey. It's not anybody anytime soon. Now on Twitch 2 and Foster1625. For now, just doing streams on Saturday. So until next time, I hope you all take care. Enjoy life. Tomorrow's never guaranteed. Treasure your families. Enjoy wrestling. There's more of it now than ever. Find some promotion, person, something that connects with you. Make a friend or rob you of it too. I dare you all to challenge virtue. Please be safe, be conscious, be positive, take care of yourself, make sure you're happy before anyone else is happy around you. Because if you're not happy with yourself, how can you expect others to be happy for you? Genuine kindness and overall just good, high self-esteem comes from within. And know that you're not alone in this world, no matter what you're facing. So don't think you are. So again, wear a mask over your face and nose, exercise caution and safety. And until the next video, we're on the final run. 1 week from today, we'll find out who will be the one. I'll see you all, what is it? Tuesday after this A Black Action Day 15, where we'll look at what happened, maybe our overall winners, and also look forward to day 16. Till then, take care. Coqueño, sayonara.